What was the strangest moment in your life that you still can't explain up to this day? I was T-boned in an intersection. Not a very serious accident, mostly just shaken up. I was out of state at college at the time. Minutes after the accident, my cell phone rang, and it was my dad. He said, all of a sudden, he was consumed with an overwhelming urge to call me and wanted to know if everything was okay. I told him I was in an accident. He has passed away since, but he and I always had a very strong connection. I wish he would call me now, but then I guess it would be the strangest moment. This one time when I was little, my dad woke me up at like 2 a.m. and he said to get ready, we're going to McDonald's. I was so confused and kept asking why, but he wouldn't answer anything besides, because or to have fun. The rest of my family, 2 brothers, sister, and mom, didn't come with an irk, they were still asleep when we left. The place was closed, and we just kinda sat there for an hour or so eating, then went back home. To this day, I still have no idea why he frantically needed me out of the house, and he swears he doesn't remember that happening, but the whole thing was so weird that I kept the toy that I got from the Happy Meal to remember it by, that I still have it to this day, because it's my only proof of this weird night that my dad, almost scarily, hurried me to McDonald's at 2 a.m. I have a local doppelganger I have never met or seen, but both my siblings have seen him. One time, I was sitting on my couch with my ex-girlfriend playing PS4, and my brother called me. I answer, and without even saying hello, he opens with, "What's up bro, do you need a ride?" I was confused and said something like, no? And he replied, "Why are you walking down the street in downtown Kent? Is your car messed up? I just passed you, but I can turn around if you need a ride." We both had a laugh when we realized he had just seen someone who looked just like me. Another time, I was waiting to meet someone at a bus station that can sometimes be sketchy at night. I'm waiting alone for their bus to show up at like 1 to 2 in the morning, and this huge gangster-looking black guy appears out of the darkness, obviously zeroed in on me and walking towards me. I'm thinking, I'm about to get robbed or something, because that's not uncommon at this bus station. He starts talking to me like he knows me, and I'm on high alert but don't want to offend him, and I'm still scoping out the situation with a hand on my knife in my pocket. After a couple minutes of this awkward conversation, he all of a sudden looks at me weirdly and says, "Is your name Mike?" And I say, "No." He starts laughing and says, "Oh man, my bad, I thought you were my cousin Mike. Man, you really look and even talk just like him." After I totaled my car, a man with burn scars all over his face and hands came to my window. He asked if I was okay and then came and sat in the passenger seat. He said, "I need you to know that everything happens for a reason." I said, "I know." The next thing I know, I'm talking to the other driver and police and the guy is just gone. No one else saw him. This happened when I was in 8th grade. I attended a small private Christian school at the time. School started at 8, but my dad had to work early, so he usually would drop me off at about 7:15. I would then go to before care, where an adult basically supervised everyone who was early. I remember it as an ordinary morning. I felt totally fine and did what I usually did before care, went to the back corner of the cafeteria, lay my head down on the table and closed my eyes for a few minutes before my school day began. Then, all of a sudden, I started experiencing this sharp pain in my chest. The best I can describe it was it felt like my chest was having a cramp like you get in your legs when working out or playing sports. I didn't panic, but I got out of my chair and quickly walked out of the room and down the hallway towards the restroom. As I walked down the hallway, the pain got sharper and sharper, and my vision started going dark. The last thing I remember was falling to my knees and realizing I wasn't going to make it to the bathroom. By the time I was completely on the floor, I was unconscious. I have no idea how long I was out. The next thing I remember, I was waking up on the floor of the hallway, and I quickly realized 2 things that I to this day find strange about the situation. 1. The last thought I had before I passed out was realizing I wasn't going to make it to the bathroom, yet when I woke up, I was actually a few steps past the door to the bathroom. 2. This was near the end of the before care time period, the school was about to start, and the hallway at this point was usually pretty busy, yet when I went to go to the bathroom, the hallway was empty, and when I woke up, the hallway was empty. I went into the bathroom to compose myself and make sure that whatever happened wouldn't start again. After that, I went back to before care and on with my day. I felt completely fine, and to this day, that pain in my chest has never returned. I spent a night a bit drunk with some friends sketching and sharing new ideas for an art project we were working on. We talked a lot about using a fire extinguisher filled with paint for a background effect on a huge canvas or a full room, but were wondering where we could get one for cheap and if it would work as we expected. Around 5 a.m., I leave my friend's apartment to take the first subway home, and believe it or not, 2 streets further on my way, and in the middle of the sidewalk, there is an empty fire extinguisher. Took it home. It was such a strange coincidence, since I never stumbled upon an empty fire extinguisher in the street at any other point in my life. I was pretty sure I dreamt about it when I woke up later, but nope, it was still in the corner of my bedroom. When I was a teen, we had a horse boarded at a local stable. I was leaving this stable and driving around on these curvy roads leading past several farms. All of a sudden, I had this sudden urge to go back to the stable and get a lead rope, basically a thick rope with a bull snap on one end that you clip to a horse's halter to lead them around. I ignored it, continued driving, came around the corner, and there was a massive freaking cow in the middle of the road. I just sat there in my car and laughed like, really, universe? Ended up waiting for the cow to finish being stupid in the middle of the road and wander off before I could get past it. I was at work several years ago, and a coworker, S, had a massive seizure. He later told us he had never had one before. Everyone started freaking out, and a man came over and gently held S down because he was in danger of slamming into a desk. When the seizure passed, the man stood up and said, "Ambulance should be here soon, so my work is done," and left. The weird thing? Nobody had any idea who that guy was. We were all so concerned about S that we didn't really register that the guy was a stranger until S was taken to the hospital. We were in a building that required a keycard to enter, and it was closed to the general public. There were only 12 of us in that office, and he wasn't one of us. So, who the hell was he? I had a dream once, and within the next month, everything from that dream happened in real life. For example, in the dream, my wife rearranged our room, which is weird because she hates rearranging stuff, and then the next week, she arranged it exactly like a dream. In the dream, I also got promoted, and then less than a week later, I did in real life. When I was 7 or 8, I used to spend Friday nights at my grandma's house. And she spoiled the crap out of me, so I loved it. One night, though, I suddenly had a strange urge to call my mom. I dialed my phone number, I knew my own number, right? A woman answered, and I suddenly blurted out, "Mom, come and get me." I have no idea why, to this day, that came out of my mouth. Like I said, I loved it there, and up until that moment, I had no thoughts of being picked up. Anyways, the person on the other end starts to sound panicky and says, "Where are you?" It hits me that this isn't my mom, so I just hang up and go back to watching TV. So weird, and while it seems so minor, it's stuck with me for 30 plus years. My mom was looking at an old photo album and talking about a party that she organized for her coworkers more than 25 years ago. She said that it was nice of me to have helped her there setting up the tables, etc. I have zero recollection of that party, nothing, so I thought she was joking. Then she showed me the pictures, and I was there. WTF. It's not like I was a kid. I was maybe 19 or 20. I wonder what else my brain erased. I was at a gas station and just finished buying something from inside. I came out, and a burly man with a t-shirt that had some sort of meat business on it came up to me asking if I was interested in purchasing bulk frozen meats. I was absolutely broke except for about $500 on my credit card available. I didn't want to buy anything, but my mouth blurted out yes, as if my life depended on it. A few minutes later, I went home with a month's worth of vacuum-sealed fish and chicken. I don't know what said yes, but it wasn't me. I told work I had to go out of town for a week for a family member's, my grandmother's cousin in Texas, funeral. Completely fictitious. In reality, I just wanted time off to hang out at the luxury home my friend was house sitting, hot tub, full bar, etc. The day my vacation started, I got a call that my grandmother's cousin had passed away, and they were going out of town for the funeral and expected me to go with them. When I was in my teens, my dad relapsed into his drug and alcohol addiction again. It was the last straw for my mom and I, and we took off in the car at night to go for a drive and get out of the house. We were both angrier than we'd ever been. As we drove down the street, each streetlight we passed popped and went dark, for at least 3 blocks. At the time, it really felt like our anger was so destructive that it was affecting the world around us. My mom and I still talk about that night and wonder WTF was going on with those lights. This happened at my grandma's house. I was lying awake on the couch in the middle of the night, when this kaleidoscope of colors and lights appeared on the ceiling and began moving around the walls. I silently watched it until it disappeared and went to sleep. I shared the living room with my sister, and my grandma slept in a chair to keep us company. Since it was dark and I hadn't heard anything, I assumed I was the only one still awake to see it. The next morning at the breakfast table, my grandma brought up the light show she had seen the night before and didn't seem to know what it was. She described what I'd seen perfectly. After she left the table, my dad and aunt both seemed very concerned that she might be losing her mind. But, in my little kid brain, I thought if I told them I'd seen it too, they might think the same about me, so I kept quiet about it. If it hadn't been for the fact she'd seen it too, I would have chalked it up to a number of things. But I honestly don't know what to make of it. My friends and I used to hang out at this coffee shop almost every single night for years. There were 6 of us. One summer, this guy Isaac started showing up every night. He was around our age and was from out of state, staying with his grandparents for the summer. He became part of our group, playing board games with us, talking till like 2 a.m. He would walk to the coffee shop, and I'd give him a ride back to his grandparents' house at the end of the night. At the end of the summer, he went back home, and we never heard from him again. This was pre-social media. Maybe about 5 years later, after our group had mostly grown apart and we were reuniting while everyone was in town for a holiday, we were sitting at our coffee shop, reminiscing. I brought up Isaac. I wonder what happened to him, and nobody knew who I was talking about. I even have a photo of him, which I eventually found and emailed everyone, but nobody recognized him. It's now been over a decade, and still, nobody remembers Isaac but me. This is going to sound absolutely crazy, and I've literally only told my sister, parents, and close friends about this. Just recently, I've considered writing this all down as my wife feels it's interesting. Back in 2000, my girlfriend and I, both 21 and our daughter, who was 2 months old at the time, moved into a council house in Essex, UK. One night, we were both asleep in bed, both of us stark naked as it was during a particularly hot summer. My girlfriend woke me up with a slap and said, "You're funny." I turned over because I was pissed. She'd woke me up and asked her what was going on. In her hand, she had a large adjustable spanner. She went on to explain how the coldness of the spanner woke her up the instant it was placed on her bare chest. She thought I was playing a prank and wouldn't believe me when I said it wasn't. I was so scared that someone else had broken into our house and put it there that I got up and checked all the windows and doors. I then didn't sleep for 3 nights straight. The spanner was mine. It was kept in a toolbox in a walk-in cupboard downstairs, but at the time, there was no access to the cupboard as we were having a new kitchen fitted, and it was blocked. There were many strange creepy things that happened in that house, the bath filling up with water overnight to the point the second I put the tip of my fingers in the water poured over the edge, also bangs, footsteps upstairs, etc. But the spanner was the one thing I struggled to explain. Nobody ever liked to stay at our house, and we only found this out after we moved. Family and friends would say they never liked it there and would avoid spending too long at the house. Roll on to 2006, I'm no longer with my daughter's mom, and I'm out with work friends for a drink. The girl behind the bar is giving me glances every now and then, and I'm feeling good as I think I may have pulled. She asks me what school I went to and where I work as she recognizes me from somewhere. I tell her, and she says you must just have a recognizable face as I've seen you before somewhere. So, I tell her where I was from before I split from my ex and moved to another area, and she says she lives there now. So we both agree we may have crossed paths before. She tells me the road she lives on, which I say, oh well, that explains it, I lived on the same road. She then tells me the house number 302, the very same house I lived at. What she said next will stay with me forever. I've been living there 5 months and I hate it. Me and my boyfriend think it's haunted. I've even woke during the night with an empty pint glass on my chest. I told her about the spanner, and she burst out crying. We exchanged numbers so we could chat at a later date. A week later, I spoke to her and her boyfriend, and they said they had moved back to his parents' house. After that, I never heard from them again. I'm 100% a skeptic and don't believe in ghosts or the supernatural, which must sound crazy after you read this story, but I'm convinced it must be something else. What it is, I really don't know. Even to this day, my ex thinks it was me who put the spanner there. I loved playing pranks on her. That's true, but how is that a prank? It's not funny, and if it was, it backfired because I literally thought we had an intruder that night.